Well, tubers, tubettes, of course, my favorite group of all, the crazy people. Why in the world would a guy that can't own any land himself ever even consider building a house for someone that he has no rights to? Well, in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover why I bought land and why I'm building a house for my wife. Now, I'm not going to be getting into the nuts and the bolts of it, the paperwork, the build itself, and all that. That will come in future videos, depending on your interest. If you want to see what's going on later on down the road, great. I'll videotape it. Just let me know in the comments. But I'm going to get into my motivation and why I would make such a big expenditure and take such a risk for something that I could never really ever truly own. All right, I'm going to explain that in the video coming up. All righty, well, like I said in the introduction, this first video about building a home is not going to be anything about the contracts or the processes or how to buy land or the building itself, because we're not there yet. Today, my wife and I went down and finalized and actually signed a contractor with the contractor that I felt, after much research, was the best. And I'll put his contact information in the description if you so desire, should you have any questions. However, I want to get into the motivation as to why I would build a house. And when I mentioned this to a friend that I was building the house, he was in full support of it. But he asked me a very poignant question. He said, let me ask you this, Paul. He said, if you weren't married to May, or if you weren't in love with her or someone else, another woman, and in a committed relationship, would you be thinking about buying land and building a house? And I said, dude, it wouldn't even cross my radar. It would be the furthest thing from my mind, because I know as a foreigner, I can't own anything out here. I know you can get a condo and all that kind of stuff, but that's a different story. I'm not buying a condo. I'm building a house. So why would I do it? Well, I think it's fairly obvious, but for some of you, maybe new subscribers, and by the way, there's been an uptick in subscribers recently, so I'd like to thank you for joining the Old Dog family, as well as those that have been with me for a while. You are all much appreciated. I've been with May now, my wife, for almost 6 years. We've been married for a year and a half. And when I met her, she had come from literally nothing. She wasn't just a province girl living in the mountains. She was a province girl at the top of the mountain. I mean, they were hauling water to the house. And I won't give you her full backstory. I've already done that in previous videos. But she was sent off at an early age without the opportunity of an education, without the opportunity of any kind of real future. She was sent off kind of like a mule to go to work at the age of 15 in Manila, and she humped it out for a dozen years, working for a woman as a caretaker and sending the money home to help her other sisters go to college. And that was just the card she was dealt, and she did it with dignity, and she did it with honor, and she did it with perseverance. And so what attracted me to May was not only her physical beauty, but also what I just mentioned, her dignity, her honor, her perseverance. And I fully trust her 1,000%. When I met May, she was working. She was working as a caterer. And I asked her, how much money are you making? She said, I'm making 300 pesos a day. And she was living with her sister in a little boarding house. And about the only thing they had was electricity and running water. But it was, it was not a place I would want to live. I'll just put it to you that way. And I saw her every day get up, go to work, 12 hours, this, that. I mean, she had free time. Her and I would get together and we would hang out. And I'll speed things along here for us all. And eventually we became a couple. She moved in with me and I have told her to quit her job. And she has become my project for the last 5 years, 5.5 years. And what I've wanted to do with May, because she has so much potential and she treats me so well, and we do get along we have our moments. To tell you we have a perfect setup, I'd be lying to you. Do we have our spats? Absolutely. However, there's never anything nuclear between the two of us. And so I got really hard thinking about her future since I am 30 years older than she is. I am 68 years old. She is 38 years old. And I got to thinking, what if I live another 10 years and I make it to 78, which is about the average. I think 77 is the average for a male. 9 years, let's call it. She's going to be 47, 48 years old. And she's not employable at that age. She doesn't have a skill set. She doesn't have a college degree or education. And she's too old. Believe it or not, they won't hire anybody over like 25 here. You got to get a job at McDonald's or something. They want people in their 20s. And since she's lived with me, she's grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And it has not been a lavish one. We live in a very little house right now with our 2 little dogs. And the biggest thing we've ever purchased, and that was 1.5 years ago, was a car. And then I got to thinking, you know what? When I leave, what's she going to be left with? What's going to happen to her? Well, it's kind of like a rubber band. I feel like she'd be just like slingshotted right back into the boarding house with her sister. I can leave her a lump sum of money. I can leave her the scooter. I can leave her the car. But that's very, very finite. That would go away in a hurry. What I wanted to make sure of is that when I depart the planet prior to her, I wanted her to have the basics. I wanted to have a roof over her head. I want it to be free and clear. I wanted to own it. No mortgage. I want it to have solar power, so there's no electric bill. I talked to a guy the other day. I said, how much is your electric bill with the solar? He said, $7 for the month. I checked on the property taxes. Where I bought is zoned as agricultural, so it's about $20 a year in property taxes. If it changes over to residential or commercial, which it might, I think it goes up to about $700 a year. That's something my wife could manage without me being in the picture. So when I leave, I want to make sure that she has a roof over her head, and the only thing that she's going to have to concern herself with is eating. God knows she's got enough clothes. Oh boy. Okay, Queen. She's got more cute little short shorts and tops than you can count. But on a serious note, I got her a scooter, and she learned how to drive the scooter. So now she has transportation. I thought that was pretty cool. We're still struggling with the car. Well, one day, I'm sure she'll get behind the wheel, and we'll get that figured out. It's all in between her ears. She's scared. She was scared to death of the scooter, and then one day she just went zipping off in it. And hopefully, we'll make that same progress with the car. I've gotten her a passport. I've got her a driver's license. She's got a bank account. She didn't even think about a bank account. She wouldn't know how to open a bank account. So it's not that I'm some hero. I'm just very pragmatic and practical. And I said, honey, you need to learn these things, because her father's never had a bank account. Her mother's never had one. Her sisters, except for one, haven't had bank accounts. And this is just, to us, what we take for granted. Oh yeah, everybody's got a bank account. Everybody's got a car. Might be a beater. Everybody's got a place to live. Might be a crappy apartment or it might be a mansion, but at least they got a place to live. And there's all kinds of safety nets in America. I know there's a big homeless crisis there right now. However, there are still things like food banks and WIC and welfare and all that jazz. That doesn't exist out here. So when I go, and I don't have enough money to leave her that she could, take it out for another 30 years. Ain't gonna happen. So we have been very thrifty, we've been very pragmatic, and hopefully very practical. 6 months ago, and I've been thinking about doing this for her for 2 years. And it wasn't until 6 months ago that an opportunity came along where I had a friend who became ill and needed cash. He needed cash because of his medical bills, and he had bought a nice piece of property. And him and I made a deal where he sold it to me for what he paid for it. And since then, it has appreciated. But that's not the point. I don't really care about the appreciation. I don't care if it depreciates. I just want to have a dwelling on a piece of land for my wife so that when I leave, boom, she has got the driver's license, the bank account. She has a little YouTube channel. She makes a little money from that. She'll have a home that she can call her own. And the way that I've constructed or designed the home, after many different swings, is one that I told her, I said, listen, you have full rights to sell the house. You could rent the house out for X amount of dollars per month to a foreigner, because I think it's designed to be foreigner friendly. At least it's trying to be. And you could go live in a smaller place or this or that or the other. And actually I ran that by her today and she said, I'm not ever doing that. We build this house, I stay in this house. And I will bring my mother and my father, if they're still alive, to live with me. My sisters, if they need it, my family. But this is going to be our home and I'm never going to leave it. Well, she says that today and I believe her today. But again, I know life has a way of changing. So maybe she will rethink that and lease the place out or whatever it takes. So that's the motivation, guys. There's been so many horror stories of guys building homes for women, doing this, doing that, and the woman, once she's got what she wants, she just tosses the guy away. Can that happen to me? Sure. Do I think it will? No. Will there be detractors watching this video that say, oh yeah, the minute that last nail is in, you're out of there. She only wants you for this and she only wants you for that. Feel free to comment. I don't filter them. Okay? An opinion's an opinion, and that's all well and good. That's cool. That's free. I'm willing to listen to you and let you have your opinion. All right. Well, I'm going to put a link to the guy that's doing the building for me in case you have technical questions or want to inquire about that. I will say this. Prior to him selling on this gentleman, it's called the Orange Kite Group, Adrian, I interviewed 5 different people that were building their homes. I didn't interview the contractors. I interviewed the customers building their homes. And then I talked to some of the contractors along the way. And after it was all said and done, this is why I felt that this gentleman was head and shoulders above the others, because I too talked to his customers. I also talked to him, and I visited a lot of his work sites. So that's that. In the future, I will be sharing the work, the progress of the house, the design, why I built it the way I built it, why I designed it the way I designed it, and hopefully you'll follow along in those videos too. All right, there's been a bunch of noise outside. I hope it didn't muffle over this video. But, welcome to the Philippines. All right, I'll see you in the next video.